Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I'm Reverend Therese Lee, and I have on a frog voice. And we're grateful that you're here today with us as we celebrate yet another month beginning. It's October. The day is the 9th, and I'm going to be taking lots of hydration breaks as we spend time together. So as you join us, write in your name, where you're from, and what it is that you might have as a prayer intention, what it is that you might want more information on. Our email address is unityofhiltonheadoffice@gmail.com. So let's close our outer eyes and take a moment and let's breathe together. Living, loving presence, we're grateful as we step into this time of growth yet again for us individually and collectively in consciousness. Let us be motivated to experience non-attachment and surrender, acceptance and peace. We open our minds and our hearts, and we be with each other in this moment, whatever day that is. We are grateful. Amen. So I'm Reverend Therese Lee, Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And we have just made it through, well, we all have, right? The storm that came through last week. And we were blessed by just wind and rain, and I took it a little personally, and so what has happened to me that we'll talk about today is I did not practice non-resistance. I did not practice acceptance. I did not practice surrender, so therefore I did not have any peace. And it's not that it's about me, and yet always and in all ways we are one. And maybe some of you have experienced this as well. In Unity, we honor the God of your understanding. However it is that you get yourself to center and prayed up, spirit-led, we are grateful. And whatever time it is that you're watching us, whatever day it is, thank you for being with us. The thing I want to talk about today is making that holy shift inside of us. SHIFT. The holy shift that happens as we stay awake and aware and honest with our head and our heart as to what's happening around us, right? How do you do that? Hydrating. Wherever you are right now, you're creating the sanctuary, right? And this is my beautiful home here as well. Holidays are coming, and all sorts of other things this season, right? And so the concept of non-resistance, acceptance, surrender, and peace allows us then to breathe it in and own it. To know that the living, loving presence that we call God is everywhere present, and that we're grateful for the nudges that come, right? My nudge was 6 days of sleeping. Well, all right. Charles Fillmore calls that chemicalization probably, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So we're grateful for technology. We're grateful for your consciousness, whatever day it is that we are spending time together. I think you'll agree that the only constant that we all really know is change, right? Some may add in that there's taxes, and then I would add in a third, which is grief. However, today, let's talk about change that happens, and that you and I get to be the change we want to see in the world, right? We get to make choices. That's the greatest part of everything I've learned as a true student for the past, 30 plus years. We, you and me, I get to make choices. Make choices. Do you realize what a gift that is? It's a big gift. Do you do a pause? Do you breathe into understanding, wow, this is a big deal? Do you remember to breathe, or do you just do that automatically? Right? So let's check in for a moment. How are you feeling with all that just happened in this past week, right? The things that happened in Florida, Puerto Rico, all the rest of the Caribbean, as Ian couldn't figure out what Ian was going to do, right? So as we're mindfully aware that we get to create the holy shift, then what happens is our lives show up differently, right? And we get to move from the head to the heart space to say, yes, I want to practice non-resistance. I want to practice acceptance. I want to feel surrender, so I will know peace. So if you're taking notes, that's the takeaway. What are your feelings about everything that's been going on in the world? This is where you get to say to yourself, maybe I've been in my head too much. Maybe I need to move to my heart space. Remember, heart math tells us, the peace connection work tells us that our hearts are 400 times bigger than the brain in our head. There's always a question people ask me, and it begins with why, blah, 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 fill in the blank. And I always try to shift them back into, how about what? This happened, now what? Am I supposed to know? What am I supposed to do? And all of those types of questions. Because what happens when we ask what, it shifts us into a thought consciousness, a mode of operation to be action-oriented. Asking why tends to be like victim and shoulders down and all of that. So we know in unity that we're one. We know that there is the one presence, one power. We know that circumstances make us what we are, right? Well, they create an atmosphere, let me say that. And then our choices on how we deal with circumstances is what makes us so. Myrtle Fillmore, our Unity co-founder, talked about how it was she believed the world could be changed, and that she believed that it was through prayer. You have heard me say that before. I believe it's through prayer as well. The consciousness of changing the mind, realizing being influenced by our thoughts, and yet we're not dealing with the thoughts and how it is that they got to be thoughts, right? So Myrtle Fillmore held prayer meetings in person, and then when she couldn't, everybody met at their own homes, kind of like you and I are doing online as well. Except for there was no technology then. So everybody agreed upon a time, like today, 10 o'clock, we're all going to be in prayer consciousness. And they met together consciously in prayer. And that's how Silent Unity started. It's how you and I meet on Sunday if you watch us online and you're part of our beautiful virtual community. Thank you from wherever you are. Let us know where you're from. Myrtle and her prayer groups, wherever they were, met with an intention of being together in spirit. That's what you and I are doing today, practicing the presence in the sanctuary of our homes, wherever we are when we watch this. Because what we know is spiritual community is not about a building, is it? It's about us connecting, eye to eye, heart to heart. Can you get to gratitude? I'm grateful for the internet. I'm grateful for my drink that keeps me hydrated, that allows me to speak, right? Because I've had a little bit of sinus face. So if you have something you're grateful for, write it in the box. Let us know what it is that we can hold with you in gratitude. So in celebrating the many paths to God, I think we all realize that there still is this idea that where is God in the midst of Ian, for example? I was asked that this week. Well, God's here. God was here, God was there, God's everywhere present, right? And God doesn't cause the storms, as we know scientifically, that they're made because air pressures meet water pressures and all of those other scientific things, right? But it doesn't change the fact that God is still present in the midst of it. And so with the strength of pulling forth that spirit from within us, we deal then with what it is that shows up in our lives. Always and always. God never goes anywhere. That was the question this week. Where was God in the midst of the storm? Present? Right here and right now. And if we feel there's a distance, we're the ones that have moved, right? The one presence and the one power, active in the universe and in our lives, always and in always. The very spirit from which we're led when we choose to be so. We get choices. We have free will. We get to discern. We get to have critical thinking. And I'm always an advocate for choosing an action once you've been in discernment about what actions to take, right? It may be staying prayed up more. It may be more time in the quiet. It may be more time out in nature, more gratitude journals, more forgiveness on our lists. That's something that you can do always and in always, to practice non-resistance, to practice acceptance and surrender, so then we can feel the peace, right? Would that be okay? I think so. We say in unity that God is, I am. And so we get to remember that I am is a huge statement. When we say it, anything after those words defines the truth of who we are. I am, I've shared this definition with you before, intention, attention equals manifestation. So I am. I am. So to make this more real, and the reason for all of my hydrating, Ian was coming. Okay, so my first solo storm. I have a daughter. We have a daughter whose little one decided, I'm going to come before the storm. I'm not going to wait. So our youngest daughter went to the hospital, and Ian was making landfall. However, As Ian's over here making landfall, our little guy, Jameson, decides, I'm going to come. And he arrives. Mommy and baby, daddy, sister and brother, all good. Nana, a little overactive with imagination. Right? In the meantime, simultaneously, not only like what am I doing here with my own home, but what am I doing with, everybody else in our congregation? Our other daughter lives on the East Coast of Florida. And again, Ian was supposed to go over there. 2 more grandbabies there. Nana's over engaging. 3 grandpuppies at that house. Oh, wait. Ian changes course, and now it's going to not so much do too much in Melbourne, Florida. It's going to go further north. And it's going to go to Charleston. Stopping in the way, of course, in Jacksonville, which I have more friends at. Well, our son lives outside of Charleston with 3 more grandbabies. So Nana's over engaged, right? And then I got like, what am I supposed to do? What can I do? So I checked with a few people around here, of course, in the congregation, everybody secured, and we're getting the news that it's not going to be so impactful here. And then I get to remember, let me come back to my I am. My intentions and my attention is going to manifest. Well, I became a nervous Nelly. And I just forgot about creating the holy shift inside of me to practice the non-resistance. I forgot to practice surrender and acceptance so I could have peace. And so what happens sometimes is I get over responsible when in fact everybody's capable, right? My children are all capable, all of their families. Oh my gosh, Mimi, Papa, everybody. In many ways, the presence shows up as them, right? Grateful for the hospital staff, yes? For Glammy and for Papa. And yet, I was allowing fear to come in. And so what I did was not rest enough, right? Or I just got over engaged in what could be. And so, thank you, Spirit. It said, I have had enough and you're going to sleep, Therese Ann Marie. 5 days in bed, not talking, just sleeping. This girl. Yeah. All right. Spirit, you have my attention. Charles Fillmore calls this chemicalization. This is his definition. The mind of us is constantly at work, right? We'll all agree that. And the work, which is the thoughts, results in the production of thought forms. These thought forms, Fillmore says, assume individual definiteness. They take on a personality, so to speak, Fillmore says, which works out into the body. Whenever a new spiritual idea, think non-resistance, surrender, acceptance, and peace, is introduced into the mind, some negative belief is disturbed. The negative belief for me would have been, I'm the Nana, I'm the minister, I'm in charge. And it resists. It blocked. So with the resistance, then comes more or less commotion in my consciousness. It's called chemicalization. Fillmore says, this can be greatly modified or eliminated by putting the mind in divine order. Okay, well, I totally was out of my mind, obviously. Worrywart. Excuse me. So instead of understanding that this was happening, right, because it all happens unconsciously, my body was going to make sure that I rested, that I let my children be, I let my neighbors be, I let all the church people be, the board and everybody else in this town of Bluffton in Beaufort County. Everybody's capable. And then clarity started coming after much needed sleep, obviously, that I needed to deny the power that was taking over my mind, that fear. And so we do that through the denials. So what I needed to know is that Ian was Ian, God's God, Therese, go to sleep. And my affirmation became, Ian has no power over my family or me or my congregation. All y'all, wherever you are. And I affirm non-resistance, acceptance, surrender, and peace. So we deny that which we want no power over us and affirm the truth. Are you breathing with me? We all experience a little bit of chemicalization now and then, is what Fillmore says. And, you know, with empathy and hearts as we watch the news of what was happening in Puerto Rico, right? And what was the havoc that was happening, right? In the Caribbean and as across Florida into North and South Carolina. Or actually it was South Carolina and North Carolina, right? So we get to breathe again. And we don't know everything that happened when and why and how, right? Other than the fact that you better shape up if Jim Cantori shows up, right? He never showed here. He never showed in any of my family's places. And yet Therese, as Nana, had an active imagination. So stay in tune with your heart. How are you doing that? Right? And how will you allow the shift to happen in you so that you can engage then your gifts of non-resistance, which means loving what is, not wishing that it would be different, because then that's fighting reality, that causes consternation, right? It is what it is, so now what? To keep it real, after we've done the non-resistance, so that we can, in fact, practice acceptance, like, oh, okay, this may happen. This baby is coming, right? Jameson, Nana loves you. Haven't met him yet. And wow, what a job for my daughter and her husband to bring this baby in, right? Big sister and little brother got to meet him. Are you being true to your feelings? Are you being true to know that there is always and in always that greatness in you that will help you, direct you? You know, I remember learning as a kid, that I was told, do as I say, don't do as I do. So please take my advice because I'm not using it, right? I don't remember the last time I slept 5 days. Oh my gosh. So thank you Thank you for the nice bed I have, that I can do that. Are you intentional with the prayer that you say each day so that you know you'll be on purpose, filled with passion? Remember, we were talking about that, of oneness, the wholeness embraced as you. I think of this time of Ian happening to us, which happened, Irma was about this time in 2019 when I was here. Are you willing to embrace it all and see it as a gift, right? Because a storm doesn't always have to come to ruin everything. It may be clearing a new pathway for us. And I got to spend a lot of time in the quiet with Therese, reassessing. How many commitments do you need to make? Are you saying no enough? How is being this person involved in so many different kinds of exciting things serving Therese, right? Non-resistance, surrender, acceptance, and peace. Are you willing? So let's close our outer eyes and breathe. Grateful for our lungs. Grateful for the internet that allows us to be together. For the little nudges that can make such a big difference in our lives. Non-resistance, acceptance, surrender, and peace. We say that to yourself. Non-resistance. And breathe. Acceptance. Breathe. Surrender. Breathe. Peace. Breathe. In unity, we use our breath as a tool to take us ever deeper within, where each of us meets the God of our own understanding. And so we breathe again into this moment, this now moment of truth, of honoring. We live from the principle of knowing God is. We live from the principle of knowing that because God is, I am, we are. And we breathe again into this knowing. We are grateful to allow the busyness that brought us here this morning to go and be present to each other right here and right now, even with our eyes closed, feeling the energy of oneness. Breathing into the awareness. Let's take some time in the quiet after a pretty busy week. Grateful for all of the unity teachings that keep us present to the moment of knowing the truth of who each of us is. In the silence, And get to gratitude. Something that you are grateful for that allows your heart to expand with gratitude and a smile to come to your face. The science of heart math tells us it is impossible to be grateful and unhappy at the same time. So in this moment, let's choose grateful. Say with me to yourself, I commit to non-resistance. I commit to acceptance. I commit to surrender. I commit to peace. We breathe again in with one breath. And we say thank you. And as we open our eyes, go ahead and put your hand up and feel the energy. Maybe two. Thank you for your consciousness. Thank you for your presence with us, reminding each other of our oneness. And our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God, and the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. We are grateful. As you're so moved and you want to practice your generosity, our website is www.unityofhiltonhead.org, and there's a practice generosity button. PayPal or credit card, we are grateful to do the will and the work that is ours to do here as Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island. Also snail mail, P.O. Box 1392, Bluffton, South Carolina, 29910. Thank you all. Many blessings. Namaste.